The Roman Empire was a world of grandeur and glory, where mighty legions marched across continents, where emperors wielded absolute power, and where the roar of the Colosseum echoed through the ages. But beneath the marble columns and golden eagles lies a darker tale, one of ambition, betrayal, and the human cost of empire. In this journey, we'll dive into the most gripping stories of the Roman Empire, where titans clashed, empires rose and fell, and the fate of the world hung in the balance. From the brilliant strategies of Julius Caesar to the madness of Caligula, and from the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius to the downfall of Commodus, these are the stories that shaped history. Let's begin with one of the most infamous tales in Roman history, the rise and fall of Julius Caesar. A man of unparalleled ambition, Caesar was a brilliant general, a cunning politician, and a leader who would stop at nothing to claim the throne of Rome. His conquests expanded Rome's borders, but his actions ignited a firestorm of jealousy and fear among the Senate. The day of his assassination is etched into history. March 15, 44 BCE, the Ides of March. As Caesar took his seat in the Senate, a group of senators led by Brutus and Cassius approached him. With daggers in hand, they stabbed him repeatedly, shouting, "Liberty, freedom!" But their attempt to restore the Republic would backfire. Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, would rise from the ashes and become Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. Augustus's reign marked the beginning of the Pax Romana, a golden age of peace and prosperity. But the tranquility was short-lived. The Roman Empire was a breeding ground for ambition, and the throne was often a seat of madness and tyranny. One of the most infamous emperors was Caligula, a man whose reign descended into chaos and terror. Caligula began his rule with promise, but his mind unraveled under the weight of power. He indulged in lavish parties, raced chariots, and even declared himself a living god. But his most shocking act was his obsession with the Roman Senate. He humiliated them, forced them to worship him, and even ordered the death of anyone who displeased him. His reign of terror ended abruptly when his own guards conspired against him, stabbing him to death in a dark alley. But Caligula's successor, Claudius, was no saint either. A man of surprising intelligence and wit, Claudius ruled with a firm hand, expanding Rome's borders and implementing reforms. Yet, his personal life was a web of intrigue and betrayal. His fourth wife, Agrippina the Younger, was one of the most cunning women in Roman history. She poisoned him, clearing the way for her son, Nero, to become emperor. Nero is perhaps the most infamous of all Roman emperors. He ruled with a mix of extravagance and brutality. His reign began with promise, but his descent into madness was swift. When a fire ravaged Rome, Nero blamed the Christians and unleashed a wave of persecution. But the rumor persists that Nero himself started the fire to build the Golden House, his opulent palace. As the empire burned, Nero fiddled, or so the legend goes, but Nero's downfall was inevitable. The Roman people turned against him, and the Senate declared him an enemy of the state. With no escape, Nero took his own life, ending the Julio-Claudian dynasty. The year that followed, 69 CE, would be known as the Year of the Four Emperors, a time of civil war and chaos. One of the most surprising emperors to rise from the ashes was Vespasian, a pragmatic and shrewd leader who restored stability to Rome. Under his rule, the Roman Empire flourished once more, and the construction of the Colosseum began, a symbol of Roman power and entertainment. But the empire's greatest challenge was yet to come. The 2nd century CE marked the height of Roman power under the so-called Five Good Emperors. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, ruled with wisdom and justice. His Meditations remains one of the greatest works of Stoic philosophy. Yet, even under his rule, the empire faced constant threats from outside and within. The Pax Romana was fraying at the edges. The decline of the Roman Empire is a tale of slow decay, punctuated by moments of brilliance. One of the most fascinating figures of this period was Commodus, the son of Marcus Aurelius. Commodus was a tragic figure, a man who inherited the throne at a young age but was consumed by his own vanity and paranoia. He became obsessed with gladiatorial combat, even participating in the arena himself, a scandalous act for an emperor. His reign ended in murder as his own advisors conspired against him. The 3rd century CE was a time of crisis. The empire was divided, civil wars raged, and external threats loomed. One of the most dramatic stories of this era was the rise of the soldier emperor Septimius Severus. A brilliant military strategist, Severus seized the throne and restored order, but his reign marked the beginning of the end. The empire was too vast, too divided, and too weak to survive the coming storms. The final act of the Western Roman Empire came in 476 CE, when the barbarian king Odoacer deposed the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus. The empire that once spanned 3 continents was no more. Yet, the legacy of Rome lives on in its laws, its language, and its people. The stories of the Roman Empire remind us of the cycle of power, the dangers of ambition, and the resilience of the human spirit. As the curtain closes on this chapter of history, remember that the Roman Empire was not just a civilization, it was a microcosm of humanity itself. A story of triumph and tragedy, of greatness and decay, and of the eternal struggle between power and principle. These are the stories that shape the world we live in today, and they continue to captivate us with their timeless drama and enduring lessons. The Roman Empire may have fallen, but its legacy will never fade. Like, share, subscribe for more stories.